Adinkra's life was marked by sorrow from the start. At just 5 years old, he lost both parents and was left in the care of his grandmother, Nana Kesewa, the only soul who truly loved him. His aunties and uncles despised him, forcing him to labor like a servant, cleaning, farming, washing their clothes. Yet, even through hunger and pain, Adinkra's brilliance in school shone like hidden gold. Nana Kesewa defended him fiercely, though her daughters mocked her as a witch. When she grew frail and bedridden, it was Adinkra alone who fed her, washed her, and stayed by her side. On her final night, she revealed a secret. Beneath the great oak tree lay a hidden treasure, protected by sacred beads, meant to change his destiny. But in fear, Adinkra trusted his best friend, Cote, who betrayed him to his cruel family. That night, at the oak tree, gunshots fell. Cote died. Adinkra, shot in the shoulder, pretended to be dead as his aunties stole the treasure. Nana Kesewa, abandoned and starved, died with no honor. Wounded, Adinkra fled, saved by strangers, only to be captured and sold into Cote d'Ivoire. Yet through it all, his spirit whispered, "I must live, I must rise." The journey to Cote d'Ivoire was long and heavy. Adinkra, bound with ropes, walked with other captives under the watchful eyes of the merchant's guards. The soil changed beneath his feet. The language around him shifted, and the land smelled different. Yet in his heart, he carried the ache of his grandmother's blessing and the pain of betrayal. When they reached the merchant's cocoa farm, Adinkra was thrown into a new life of servitude. The farm stretched wide, filled with rows of cocoa trees heavy with pods, but to Adinkra it looked more like chains. "You!" the merchant barked, pointing at him. "From today, you rise with the sun and work until the moon. Harvest, carry, clean, your hands belong to me now." Adinkra nodded silently, too weak to protest. From dawn to dusk he bent his back under the burning Ivorian sun. His shoulder, though healed, ached every time he lifted baskets of cocoa pods. Blisters formed on his palms, his feet cracked, but still he worked. When he slowed down, the overseer lashed him with a cane. "Faster, boy. You are not here to rest. Work or you starve." At night, Adinkra slept on the cold floor of a small hut shared with other laborers. Hunger gnawed at him, and exhaustion weighed on his bones. Yet in the quiet moments, he whispered to himself, "Nana told me to keep going. My destiny is not here. I will not die a slave." Far away in his home village, his aunties and uncles were living in false joy. With the pot of gold stolen from beneath the oak tree, they built new mud houses, bought cattle, and boasted in the market square. "See how rich we are now," one uncle declared, waving gold pieces before the villagers. Another laughed. "That old woman thought she could hide wealth for her bastard grandson. Now we are the ones enjoying it." They feasted while Adinkra starved. They wore fine cloth while he wore rags. They mocked his memory while he carried baskets twice his weight. But what they did not know was that the gold they celebrated carried a curse, for the sacred beads had not been placed upon Nana Kesewa's grave. And in the quiet of the nights, whispers rose in their compound. Shadows moving, livestock dying without reason, sudden sickness creeping into their homes. The treasure that was meant to bless had begun to turn against them. Meanwhile, in Cote d'Ivoire, Adinkra's suffering continued. But through every lash, every insult, every hungry night, his spirit grew stronger. He watched, he listened, he learned. The merchant saw only a boy to exploit, but destiny was silently shaping a man. It began quietly, a sickness that struck the eldest uncle. He woke one morning with swollen eyes and trembling hands. Before herbs could be prepared, he fell to the ground and died. His body twisted as though something unseen had strangled him. The villagers whispered, "This is not natural." Soon after, one of the aunties collapsed while fetching water. She screamed that fire was burning inside her body, though no flames could be seen. Within hours, she too was gone. Fear spread quickly through the family. Night after night, strange noises came from the hut where the gold was hidden. Pots rattled by themselves, shadows danced on walls, though no one held a lantern, and sometimes the pot of gold glowed faintly, as if alive. At last, trembling with fear, the family went to a soothsayer in a distant town. The soothsayer listened quietly, then cast cowrie shells onto a mat. His eyes widened as he read their meaning. "Fools!" he shouted. "You are cursed. The treasure you took was never meant for you. The old woman you called witch gave it to the boy because he was pure in heart. She told him of the sacred beads that protect the treasure. Those beads were meant to be placed on her grave to seal the blessing. But you buried her like a dog without honor. Because of this, the spirit of the gold has turned against you." The aunties and uncles cried out, "What can we do? How can the curse be lifted?" The soothsayer shook his head. "It may be too late. The curse will wipe out your bloodline unless the rightful heir returns. The gold will never bring you peace, only death." They returned home in silence, their pride shattered, their hearts filled with terror. That night, as they sat around the flickering fire, one auntie whispered, "Where is the boy? Could he still be alive? If he returns, perhaps the curse will end." Life in Côte d'Ivoire was not easy for Adinkra. The cocoa farmer who bought him was known across the region for his harshness. His name was Cote, a man with a strong build, a deep voice, and eyes that often flashed with suspicion. From sunrise to sunset, Adinkra weeded the fields, carried baskets of cocoa pods, fetched water, and cleaned the compounds. Unlike the other servants, he never complained. When others grumbled, he kept silent. When others shirked tasks, he doubled his effort. Slowly, his quiet obedience began to separate him from the rest. One day, another servant muttered to him, "Why do you work so hard, eh? Don't you see we are all slaves here?" Adinkra replied softly, "Because hard work and respect are the only weapons I have. One day, they will open a door for me." It was not only his work, but also his cleverness that impressed even the older men. When a cart broke down on the way to market, Adinkra quickly repaired it with ropes and sticks, saving the farmer hours of delay. When cocoa beans were nearly lost to rain, he covered them with leaves and mats before anyone else thought of it. Slowly, the farmer began to notice. One fateful day, Cote was preparing to travel to a faraway village to settle some business. He called Adinkra aside, his face stern. "Boy, I'm leaving for 3 days. Here is a sum of money. Keep it safe until I return. If it is missing, you will pay with your life." He handed Adinkra a leather pouch heavy with coins. The other servants gasped, for Cote never trusted anyone with his money. Many whispered, "This is a trap. The boy will surely run away with it." But Adinkra only bowed. "Yes, master. I will guard it." For 3 long days he kept the pouch close, continuing his work in the fields as though nothing had changed. Temptation never crossed his mind. "This money is not mine," he reminded himself. "A man's honor is worth more than gold." When Cote returned, his eyes were sharp, scanning the compound. To his surprise, Adinkra was still there, bent over the fields, working with sweat on his brow. "Boy!" Cote barked. "Where is my money?" Adinkra wiped his hands, walked calmly into the hut, and returned with the pouch. Bowing low, he said, "Here it is, master, untouched." Coadio opened it, counted the coins carefully, and looked at Adinkra long and hard. For the first time, the hardness in his eyes softened. "You are not like the others," he said slowly. "From today, you are no longer just a servant. You are my trusted hand." For the first time since leaving his village, Adinkra felt the winds of destiny shifting. Coadio Cone's trust in Adinkra grew steadily. He began to send him to markets with small amounts of cocoa to sell, watching secretly to see if he would cheat. But Adinkra returned each time with the exact money and even extra profit when he bargained cleverly. Cone muttered one day, stroking his beard. "This boy has more sense than men twice his age." Soon, Adinkra was no longer just a farmhand. He was managing parts of the business, organizing workers, and keeping records of sales. His obedience never changed, but his wisdom shone brighter each day. But while Adinkra's star was rising in a foreign land, his blood family back home was drowning in darkness. The curse of the gold was spreading like wildfire. In just a few years, 20 members of the family had died mysteriously. Some fell sick overnight and never woke again. Others collapsed suddenly in the fields, their mouths foaming as if poisoned. A few were even struck down during laughter, joy turning to silence in an instant. The villagers whispered in fear, "That family is cursed. Do not marry their sons or daughters. Death follows them like a shadow. Even their livestock die strangely. The ancestors are angry." The once proud lineage of Nanakesewa's daughters was now a family of fear. Their huts were filled with wailing and funeral cloths. Even the young, those who should have been filled with hope, were dying before their time. Suitors refused to take their daughters in marriage. Fathers warned their sons, "If you marry into that house, you are digging your own grave." Finally, desperation drove them to a decision. Find Adinkra. "He was the one chosen by our mother," an auntie said bitterly. "The curse will not end unless he returns." "But how?" an uncle replied, his face gaunt from sleepless nights. "We do not even know if he lives. We searched villages near and far. No one has seen him." Still, they sent men from one village to another, asking for news of a boy with a scar on his shoulder. Each time they returned empty-handed. Some began to wonder if Adinkra had truly died that night under the oak tree, his body swallowed by the forest. But in truth, Adinkra lived, far away, rising in honor, while the family that despised him was being erased by their own greed. And so, the cursed gold remained, glowing faintly in the night, waiting for the rightful heir who alone held the secret of the beads. Until then, the deaths would not stop. Coadio Cone had lived long enough to know that most servants, no matter how strong or loyal they seemed, carried greed in their hearts. But Adinkra was different. The boy had already proven his honesty with money, his skill in labor, and his silence in hardship. Still, Cone wanted to be sure before entrusting him with greater responsibilities. One morning, he called Adinkra into his courtyard. "Boy," he said, though his tone now held less bite than before, "today you will not go to the farm. You will come with me to the chief's palace." Adinkra bowed. "Yes, master." At the palace, traders from far and near gathered to sell cocoa, cola nuts, and palm oil. Prices were fierce, and bargaining was like war. Cone, usually sharp-tongued in trade, stepped back and whispered to Adinkra, "Watch carefully. Today you will speak for me. Let me see if your cleverness in the market matches your cleverness in the fields." Adinkra's heart raced, but he nodded. He approached the traders with calm respect. One merchant shouted, "Your cocoa is too small for such a price." Another sneered, "We will pay only half." But Adinkra smiled, his voice steady. "My masters, if you pay half, you will lose double when your buyers taste the quality. This cocoa is not ordinary. Count the beans yourself. They are full and rich. If you doubt me, take one pod, break it, and see." The merchants tested his words. To their surprise, he was right. Murmurs rose among them. His logic, his calm tone, and his refusal to be bullied turned the tide. By the time the bargaining ended, Cote's cocoa had fetched one of the highest prices of the day. Cote stared at him in astonishment. "This boy," he muttered under his breath, "he bargains better than I do." News of Adinkra's sharp tongue and fair dealings spread like wildfire. Soon, merchants who crossed the borders into Ghana carried the story with them. In the bustling markets of Kumasi and beyond, traders began to say, "You bargain like Adinkra." It became a saying, a measure of wisdom and skill. Back in Cote d'Ivoire, Cote's attitude toward him changed completely. He no longer called him boy with contempt, but addressed him as Adinkra, my right hand. He gave him keys to the storerooms, entrusted him with records, and even sought his counsel in disputes with other merchants. The other servants watched with wide eyes. Some whispered in envy, others in awe. "How can a slave hold such power?" one asked. But Adinkra paid no mind to jealousy. He remembered his grandmother's words, "Wisdom is greater than gold. Keep your heart pure." Yet while his name rose in honor beyond borders, back in his village, his cursed family continued to crumble. The deaths had now emptied whole compounds. Elders in neighboring villages spoke in fear. "That house is finished." They wanted gold, but gold is burying them. They remembered the soothsayer's warning. Only Adinkra can lift the curse. Without him, the gold will devour you one by one. Desperation gnawed at the surviving relatives. One night they gathered in secret, their faces pale with fear. "We cannot go on like this," an auntie whispered. "Every moon brings another death." "But the gold remains," an uncle hissed, his eyes bloodshot. "It has not vanished. Perhaps we can sell it piece by piece." "No!" another cried, trembling. "Do you want to die tomorrow? Do you not see what has happened already? The curse is too strong." Silence fell, until one cousin spoke with hesitation. "There is only one way. Find Adinkra. He alone was chosen. He alone can end this suffering." The others murmured in agreement. For years they had believed he was dead, but whispers had begun to spread. Traders returning from Cote d'Ivoire carried stories of a young man who bargained like no other. They said his name was Adinkra. They said even wealthy merchants respected him. The family froze when they heard the rumor. "Adinkra? Alive?" "If he lives," one muttered, "then perhaps the curse will spare us if he returns." Without wasting time, they sent spies again, this time beyond their borders, into Cote d'Ivoire. For weeks these men moved from market to market, asking quietly about a young servant who had risen to fame. And always the answer came the same. "Yes, we know him, the clever one. They call him Adinkra." The spies returned with trembling voices. "It is true. He lives in Cote d'Ivoire under a farmer named Cote. He is no longer a servant only. He is trusted, respected, and feared in trade." The family sat in stunned silence. Some faces brightened with hope, others darkened with shame. So, the boy we despised, the boy we tried to kill, is the only one who can save us. "Yes," another whispered bitterly, "and without him, we will all perish." But what they did not know was this. Adinkra's heart still carried the scars of betrayal. If he learned of their suffering, would he even return? The curse had trapped them, and time was running out. The whispers reached him slowly, carried on the tongues of traders who crossed the borders between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. Adinkra first heard it in the marketplace, when two merchants argued over the price of kola nuts. "Why bargain with me like that?" one laughed. "You sound like Adinkra of Ghana." At the sound of his name, Adinkra's heart skipped. Later he overheard other travelers whispering, "The cursed family still searches for the boy. Without him, they say the gold will kill them all." Adinkra's hands trembled as he carried cocoa sacks. Could it be? Were his enemies still alive, and now searching for him? He remembered the night of betrayal, the gunshots, the laughter as they left him for dead. His heart burned with anger. Why should I return? Why should I save those who wanted my death? But his grandmother's voice haunted him. "Keep your heart pure. Do not let envy destroy you." One evening, as the sun bled into the horizon, his master, Cote, noticed his troubled face. "Adinkra," he said firmly, "you have carried a heavy burden these past days. Speak to me. What troubles you?" Adinkra hesitated, then told him everything: the death of his parents, his grandmother's love, the treasure beneath the oak tree, the betrayal of his family, and the curse that now devoured them. He spoke through tears, his voice trembling, but Cote listened in silence. When he finished, Cote placed a heavy hand on his shoulder. "So, your people come searching for you now, not out of love, but out of desperation." "Yes, master," Adinkra whispered. "They want me to return. But why should I? Did they not try to kill me?" Cote sighed deeply. "Because destiny is not always about what we want. Sometimes it is about what the world needs from us. If your presence can end this curse, perhaps this is why your grandmother entrusted you with the secret." Days later, the family spies finally found him. When they stood before him, their faces pale with shame, they knelt. "Adinkra," one said, "forgive us. The curse is wiping us out. Without you, we will all perish. Please come home." Adinkra turned away, pain twisting in his chest. "You mocked me. You beat me. You tried to kill me. And now you come begging? My grandmother was the only one who loved me, and you buried her without honor. Why should I help you?" The spies wept, but Adinkra remained firm. "No, I will not go." That night, Cote called him into the courtyard. The fire cast long shadows as the farmer spoke, his voice heavy with sorrow. "Adinkra, you are no longer my servant. From today, you are free. You have proven yourself more than gold in my eyes. You are my son, but destiny calls you home. Go, end what was started. Take my men with you for protection. And remember, my doors will always be open to you, not as a slave, but as family." Tears filled Adinkra's eyes. He knelt before Cote. "Father, you gave me life when I had none. I will never forget." And so, with a heart torn between pain and duty, Adinkra prepared to return to the land that once betrayed him, not as a boy, but as a man chosen by destiny. The day Adinkra returned to his village, the air was heavy with whispers. Men and women left their farms to watch as he entered, not alone, but with men from Cote d'Ivoire who walked like warriors at his side. The villagers gasped. "Is it not Adinkra?" one murmured. "But he died years ago. We buried him in our hearts," another exclaimed. "No," an elder said quietly. "The boy they despised has returned a man." His surviving aunties and uncles trembled when they saw him. Some tried to smile. Others fell to their knees, begging, "Adinkra, forgive us, help us. The curse is killing us. Only you can end it." Adinkra's eyes were steady, though his heart ached. You mocked me, you beat me, you shot me, and left me for dead. You buried my grandmother like a dog. Yet here I stand, alive, not because of you, but because of her blessing. I will do what she asked, not for you, but for her spirit." That evening, the villagers gathered before the great oak tree. The priest of the village came, chanting and pouring libation to call upon the ancestors. Adinkra held the sacred beads his grandmother had told him about. Beads that had protected the treasure all these years. The priest declared, "These beads must be buried at Nana Kasiwa's grave to seal the curse and pass the treasure to its rightful owner." Adinkra walked to his grandmother's resting place, tears streaming down his face. He knelt by the grave, pressing the beads into the soil. "Nana, I have done as you asked. May your soul rest in peace." Suddenly, a scream pierced the night. The uncle who had fired the gun at Adinkra staggered, clutching his chest. His eyes rolled back, and he fell lifeless on the ground. The crowd gasped, fear shaking their bones. By dawn, the rest who had conspired in the betrayal, every auntie, every uncle, were dead. The curse had taken its full price. Silence covered the village as the priest raised his staff. "It is finished. The treasure belongs to Adinkra alone." With the warriors of Cote beside him, Adinkra lifted the golden pot from the earth. But he did not linger. He turned his back on the village that had cursed him and walked away, carrying his destiny with him. When he returned to Côte d'Ivoire, he went first to Cote. Placing part of the gold before him, Adinkra said, "Father, this is my gift to you, but I ask for one thing in return. Let the slaves go free. Let them choose to stay as workers, earning wages, or to leave in peace." Cone's eyes softened. "You ask for freedom, not for yourself alone, but for others. You are greater than gold, Adinkra." And so it was done. Many left joyfully, tasting freedom for the first time. Others stayed, working as men with dignity, not slaves. Adinkra used the rest of the treasure to build businesses across Côte d'Ivoire. He traded cocoa, cola, and gold, and his name spread far and wide. He married a noble woman, raised children, and grew into one of the wealthiest men of his time. But back in Ghana, the cursed family that once mocked him sank into poverty. Their name became a warning whispered to children. Greed destroys, but honesty lifts a man higher than kings. Adinkra's life had been shaped by pain, betrayal, and perseverance, yet in the end he rose, not just as a rich man, but as a man of honor. Dear friends, the story of Adinkra teaches us something deeper than gold or treasure. It shows us that honesty, loyalty, and perseverance will always lift a person higher than greed ever can. Adinkra suffered as an orphan, was betrayed by family, and even sold into slavery. But through his obedience, respect, and hard work, he became a man of honor and wealth. He never allowed bitterness to poison his heart. He kept his promise to his grandmother, and in the end, destiny rewarded him. On the other hand, those who allowed greed and jealousy to blind them were destroyed by the very gold they desired. Their name faded into shame, while Adinkra's name became a proverb across nations. To you watching or listening right now, whether your struggle is in marriage, family, work, or life itself, remember Adinkra's journey. Do not give up. Keep pushing until your last breath. Your breakthrough may be closer than you think. We at Ananse Web of Tales encourage you. Be honest, no matter the cost. Stay loyal to those who truly love you. Persevere, even when the world seems against you. And flee from greed, for greed destroys faster than fire. May your life shine like Adinkra's in the end. If you believe, say Amen. Don't forget to subscribe to Ananse Web of Tales for more captivating African stories like this one. And share with us in the comments where you are watching from, your village, your city, or your country. We would love to hear from you. Stay blessed, and remember, perseverance will always conquer greed.